Hi, Senator. I'm William Glucroft. I live here for a long time, but I'm a fellow New Englander.
You speak English very well.
Thank you very much. Even from Connecticut, and with my mother from Queens, it happens. I'm glad we started with this topic about how the left party and really social democrat parties and left parties all around Europe, not just in Germany, are struggling. We're seeing a surge of the far right. I'm really curious, given your political experience, your political positions, what you've experienced yourself in the US, how you look to Europe and the developments here, not so much by the success of the far right, but more the absolute or almost complete inability of center-left and left parties from having a competent, convincing argument, and they're losing their voters to the far right.
Good question. I don't talk about that terribly much in the book, and I don't claim to be by any means an expert on European politics. I really am not. But as I think you've implied, similar trends are taking place all over the world, including the United States. So if your question is, how does it happen that many working class people, lower income people, are voting for extreme right-wing candidates? I think it's a very important question, and I'm more familiar with, obviously, with what goes on in the United States. What is happening in the world today, and I write about it in the book, is we are a planet and a country in the United States experiencing massive change very rapidly. And one of the reasons I wrote that book is that politicians simply do not tell the truth, the plain truth. So what we do is you do polls and you do focus groups and you figure out what kind of messaging you need and how to say it. But in the midst of all of that, we're not telling the plain truth. And the main theme of that book, and I say that because no matter what your politics are, people want to know why their lives are the way they are. How is society shaping their lives? You want to know that. Every human being in the world really wants to know it. And I think what progressives are not doing is simply telling the straightforward truth. And there's reason for that. What is the dominant truth? The dominant truth in America, I expect in Europe and all over the world, there's a simple reality, is that we are moving rapidly toward an oligarchic form of society. Now, what does that mean? What it means is the people on top, and we don't write about it very much, and certainly in Congress, we don't talk about it very much. Just one example of many. Since COVID, the last 3 years, 2/3 of all the new wealth being created in this world, $26 trillion, went to the 1%. What do you think about that? Is that an important fact? Is it an important fact that in America today, while 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, that unto itself is an outrageous reality, which is not talked about. I'm one of the few politicians in America who even talks about it. But even more importantly is 60% of American workers are living paycheck to paycheck. Is that an expression that you understand in German? I mean, it's an American expression. It means you work hard, and at the end of the week, you have nothing in the bank. Okay? We have 600,000 people in America who are homeless. And here's another fact, all of which is relevant to your important question. Today, the average weekly wage for an American worker in inflation accounted for dollars is lower than it was 50 years ago, 50 years ago. Got it? That's an extraordinary reality. Think about all of the technology that's taken place in 50 years. We didn't have computers 50 years ago. You didn't have email. You didn't have robotics. All of that technology, and the average American worker is worse off than he or she was 50 years ago. So to answer your question, you're somebody out there, you're working hard, and you're falling further and further behind. People on top are doing well. What's the explanation? Who's doing anything about that? Is it even being discussed? So the right wing fills that void. And they say, well, your problem is, what is it, gay people, it is black people, it is immigrants, big thing, immigrants. Those are the causes of your problem. They give an explanation. Happens to be a totally false explanation. Because they certainly don't want to look at a ruling class and the power of the ruling class. So I think to answer your very good question, what politicians shy away from is talking about the issue of oligarchy and the incredible political and economic power these people have. And I think if we talk about it, people say, yeah, that makes sense. It's not a transgender person who's the cause of my problems. Maybe it's somebody who is spending huge amounts of money to make sure that I don't have health care in America, or I can't afford to send my kid to college. But we need to tell the truth.
Okay, please, yeah.
Long answer to a good question.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
bitte.